Hola, hola, ¿cómo están? Qué gusto saludarlos. Hi everyone, my name is Esteban Macías and I'm here in my beautiful Ciudad de México, la gran Tenochtitlan. Here we are. I'm so excited to be joined by some of the stars and filmmakers of Marvel Studios' Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Wakanda por siempre. I love that sound, suena fantástico eso. We're going to be talking all about the new movie, including a few questions submitted by you, the fans. But first, please let me give you a warm welcome and introductions to the folks joining us today. So first of all, Mr. Director, Ryan Coogler, Mr. Producer, Nate Moore, and what a front row we have. Qué primera fila. Letitia Wright, Shuri in the movie. We have Nakia, Lupita Nyong'o, which I know understands everything I'm saying in Spanish, and I love that. And of course, Mabel Cadena, which is Namora, the new character in this movie. Bienvenida, Mabel, a nuestro país, a la Ciudad de México. And unfortunately, I gotta tell you, Tenoch Huerta couldn't join us today, but we know he's proud and excited for everyone to come watch this cast November 11. Tenoch no puede estar hoy con nosotros, nos mandó un mensajito, pero espera que todos veamos la película este 11 de noviembre. Está muy emocionado por este reparto. Y bueno, ¿qué les parece si empezamos? Les damos la bienvenida a la Ciudad de México. Welcome to Mexico City. And I have to tell you guys, I'm a huge Marvel fan. I love the MCU. Of course, this new movie, I think it's great. I got the chance to see it yesterday, and I love it. And what about we start with you, Ryan? First of all, I want to ask you, of course, Ryan, Nate, and for everyone, the first one was a huge spectacle, but I don't know how you do it. This one looks bigger. Action scenes, new characters, a lot of new locations. So tell me how it was to return to Wakanda, but also bring to this new movie the huge and lovely city of Talocan. How was it?
It was fantastic to have the opportunity to work with these actors again, to have a chance to deepen our relationship with the characters, see new parts of Wakanda, and it was truly amazing to be able to bring Talocan to the big screen, especially the characters, Namor, Namora, Tuma. It was fantastic for me, and I think that I was not in the minority of folks involved with the film who weren't the best swimmers in the world. I had to commit to learning how to swim so I could be there with the actors and with the camera team and the underwater stunt team. I think Nate kind of had it figured out before, but it was just an amazing opportunity, and then also to learn more about the cultures of Mesoamerica, the pre-Columbian history of Mesoamerica, and to make friends with new talented folks from different parts of the world, like Mabel and Tenoch and Alex. It was truly a fantastic opportunity and a blessing.
For you, Nate, how was bringing?
Yeah, it was really exciting. I mean, you know, when Ryan brought to us what he thought the second movie could be, it was impressive and daunting, because whenever you think about creating, not only revisiting Wakanda, but creating this new world of Talocan that is underwater, you realize there's a whole host of other logistical questions you're going to have to answer. And Ryan is such a grounded filmmaker and wanted everything to feel tactile and wanted performers to be in the water, to really move as if they were in submerged environments, which just created an interesting extra wrinkle past making a movie of all these water tanks and training people to be comfortable performing in water. But I think all of that fidelity shows up on screen. And so when you watch the movie, hopefully audiences are really immersed in this world because the actors and actresses are really there.
Were you expecting that, Lupita, Leticia? The brand new world is coming to this movie?
Not at all. I mean, when Ryan told me what the idea was, I was kind of shocked and confused. I mean, when you read the script, you're just like, well, how are we going to make half this movie underwater? You know, it just seems like a very impossible task to do. But then I remembered also how much Ryan likes water. Because in the first film, we had water.
We had a lot of water.
We had water. And then it was water to our shins. And then now we just decided to just submerge us entirely. But I was also very excited to have that opportunity to learn how to befriend the water, how to grow comfortable in the water, because I think that's a very important skill and one that I think too often we overlook.
Indeed. I want to ask you, Mabel. Le voy a preguntar en español porque estamos en la Ciudad de México, estamos en México. Pues, ¿cómo fue unirte a este grupo y representar a este personaje?
Oh, fue increíble, la verdad, porque nunca esperé tener una oportunidad como esta, ¿sabes? Y trabajé muchísimo para sentirme orgullosa de la carrera que hoy tengo en esta ciudad, en este país. Y recibir esta oportunidad para mí fue recordarme a mí misma que tenía que trabajar y desarrollar nuevas habilidades, ¿sabes? Que podía hacer posibles nuevos caminos para mí. Entonces, estoy muy agradecida con Nate, con Ryan, con todo este equipo, porque para mí fue un, hey, Mabel, recuerda que tú puedes cambiar el ritmo y la historia de tu propia vida, ¿no? Recuerda tu poder, recuerda tu capacidad de crear nuevos mundos, ¿sabes? Entonces me abrió todo un universo que para mí era quizá imposible antes. Era como, no, quizá nunca voy a estar ahí, ¿sabes? Era como, tengo que enfrentarme a un idioma que no es el mío, tengo que enfrentarme a un montón de cosas que parecen un poco imposibles. Y que esto fue como, oh my God, I'm here with this team, with this amazing director and with this amazing producer, and they give me all the tools for make this story real for me. So I'm very grateful for that.
Y es fantástico ver a una mexicana como tú en una película como esta. It's so great. Ryan and Nate, how was the approach to bring back Wakanda and the world of Wakanda, but at the same time honoring the memory of Chadwick Boseman and respecting his huge legacy?
Yeah, I mean, I can say none of us obviously expected to lose Chad, and so, you know, there's a version of this movie where his character was a big part of it, but once we all felt that loss and were able to kind of process what it meant, we had to figure out how to recenter the movie in a way that both respected us as artists and didn't force us into places we were uncomfortable with, but also gave audiences the opportunity to revisit a world they loved. You know, I think I would go far as, like, Chad understood what Wakanda meant to people, so we had to figure out how to revisit that place, but also infuse into the storytelling the very real loss we were feeling, the loss that I think audiences were feeling too. And so we tried to tell a story that was honest to those emotions, and that allowed the characters to grieve the loss of T'Challa in the same way that we were grieving the loss of the man. And so, given the choice, the question became, how do we best tackle this, again, in a way that expanded the legacy of the man in the world, but allowed us to deliver something that we could believe in.
Leticia, you worked so close to him in the first movie. So in that regard, how was coming back to this world?
So yeah, I the first conversation was discussing with my director how we were gonna come together as a team to honor my bro. And at first it was really weird for me because I was just really angry at the world. I was just really upset, and I just didn't want to do it without him. And I just really had to trust my director. I really had to trust him as our leader, as our brother, someone who's incredibly sensitive and instinctive as well. He's really instinctual about his choices. He doesn't just make it just to make it. So I knew when he was saying there's a light here that we could tap into, that changed my perspective, and I saw the opportunity to honor my brother in a way that I didn't before. I was just angry and upset, and I just turned that around to how can I give the best of myself and give the best of this character that, you know, predominantly he chose to be his sister. How can I do my best in this film alongside my team to be honorable to him, and that's how we tackled it together.
And I would say that's the best way to pay an homage working around it. Es fantástico, de verdad, el homenaje que se le hace en la película a Chadwick Boseman. It's so great. Let's change a little bit of mood, and I want to talk about the music. Because this mix between the African rhythms and these flutes from the Mesoamerican cultures and the Mayan rhythms. So what can you tell me, Ryan, about what you want to do with the music in Wakanda Forever?
Yeah, we were able to work with Ludwig Göransson, who was our composer on the last film. I had a long working relationship with him, and we try to work in a way that's organic and holistic. We wanted to give audiences a unique experience, and we also wanted to make sure that since we were exploring another culture and representing another culture, that we did the same type of work that we did for the first film in representing the cultures of Africa through Wakanda. So Ludwig immediately, read the first draft of the script and booked time here in Mexico City, and also in the Yucatan region of the country. Worked with musicians that were from here in terms of making contemporary songs, but also he worked with musical archaeologists who kind of dedicated their lives to the study of the types of music that Mesoamericans would have made art with during the pre-Columbian times. And that part of it I think was the most interesting, because we found that a lot of the motifs of the film were present in the sonic escapes of the people from that time. For instance, seashells, were a massive part of how they made music, and it made a lot of sense, obviously, because Talocan is now in the ocean in the MCU. So that really opened things up. It blew my mind how much they sounded like French horns with the humanity that we had in the Fula flutes that we used for Killmonger's theme in the first film. Yeah. So it was fantastic. And we also were able to dig deeper into the music of the continent, with both contemporary sounds and also using some of the more traditional music. I mean, it was a fantastic opportunity, and I think it's some of Ludwig's best work, to be honest.
Beautiful caracoles that you can find there in the movie. Nakia and Shuri are beacons of inspirations nowadays. I think those characters have inspired a lot of people around the globe. So first, how was experiencing that inspiration you provide with the character, and also did in any sense change the way you approach the character for this new movie?
It's very touching when people relate to your character and cite your character as a source of inspiration. And in the first film, we had so many female figures who are so different from one another to be role models, or people, like there's a good population of women in this story that allow for young girls, young people to identify with one or another. Kids say, oh, I relate with your character Nakia for X reason, or I want to do STEM thanks to Shuri. And it's lovely to be able to be the vessel for that kind of inspiration. And for this film, of course, I think the death of Chadwick really changed the direction that we were going with this film, and it became part and parcel of the evolution of the characters. So in this film, Nakia has matured. She's lost someone near and dear to her, and she's navigating her grief in a special way, in a distinct way from, say, how Shuri is doing it. And I think that having those distinctions of how people deal with grief in the first place is also extremely helpful and healthy, because grief doesn't look the same on everyone. It's a varied, it's a condition with lots of colors, and our film showcases or explores grief in a number of different and very helpful ways.
All this, Leticia, changed the way you approach the character?
Yeah, for sure. In connection to what Lupita just shared so beautifully, seeing so many young girls be empowered by these women, and not forcing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we didn't do the film to get a particular result. We just wanted to tell the truth. And I think when you do that, people receive it like better, because you're not trying to force it down their throat. It's just like we're just existing in a world that is equal, and in a world that naturally you just feel empowered when you look at these characters on screen. So that's the same for this one. And yeah, it is tricky because we're looking at the ways in which these beautiful women from the first film are impacted by someone that they love so much. So yes, it would cause you to approach a character a little bit differently, but at the same time, again, just staying on the path of telling the truth, and that truth again can inspire and can also lead to many people feeling healed as well from touching into the ways in which the characters are dealing with this situation. Yes.
Y bueno, Mabel, hacer este personaje y que además tenga estas raíces mexicanas y que lo estés presentando en la Ciudad de México, ¿qué significa para ti?
¿Qué significa? Verme y abrazarme por primera vez y abrazar mi poder. Creo que no hay mejor película como esta, que no hay mejor película como Black Panther para introducir un mundo como lo que es Talocan, para introducir una diversidad de rostros, de colores, de formas, ¿sabes? Me parece increíble que una película como esta pueda empezar a mostrar rostros hermosos y mujeres hermosas y hombres poderosos alrededor de México, Latinoamérica y el mundo, y que abracemos nuestras culturas y nuestros orígenes, ¿sabes? O sea, estamos hablando de que quizás somos diferentes historias, pero tenemos el mismo movimiento, nos mueven las mismas necesidades. Tengo la necesidad de que muchísimas niñas, niños sientan que si yo no antes no tuve la oportunidad de soñar que podría ser parte de una película como esta, yo quiero que hoy los niños no se cuestionen que pueden soñar con eso. Tengo ganas de que los adultos puedan ver representadas sus historias, sus lenguas, sus orígenes, su música. Y creo que ser parte de una película como esta, traer a Talocan con Tenoch, con Alex, con todo este universo que fue parte de lo que cambió ese legado de Black Panther, pueda eso, ilusionarnos a representar una diversidad de historias en nuestro cine alrededor del mundo, no solamente en México.
Y estoy de acuerdo contigo, and I gotta say, Ryan, Nate, as Mexican, to see those references in the movie, so well respected, it's fantastic, and and I'm grateful for that. But how hard was the process to come to that conclusion of what we're gonna be seeing in this submersive city, in this beautiful Talocan?
I mean, I think once Ryan had the idea to sort of anchor the world of Talocan in Mesoamerican culture and really be inspired both by ancient Mayan civilization and present-day Mayan civilization, then it's just the process of finding the right consultants who help us try to get it as right as we can. You know, I don't think any of us pretend to be historians, but you do want, if you're going to pay homage to a place, you do want it to get it right. So we worked with, you know, Dr. Gerardo Aldana, who's an academic out of the U.S. who spent a lot of time in the region. We had an on-set interpreter for Yucatec Mayan dialect, so that Mabel and Tenoch and Alex always had a touchstone of someone who was from the region who could speak it correctly. But I think trying to get those details as right as possible, hopefully we'll build a world that people feel is as cared for as Wakanda is. Because it's important when you're introducing, again, Talocan, as Ryan referenced earlier, you don't want it to feel like we didn't take the time. Because it really is a love letter to both of these worlds.
And you brought back Ruth Carter in that same order of ideas. So I don't know, I assume she was very important to closure everything.
Absolutely. Ruth was back, Hannah Beekler was back. We work with a great visual development team that works out of Marvel Studios, supervised by Ryan Minerdine and Phil Saunders, right?
Phil Saunders is back as well.
Yeah, so we had all of these incredible professionals who we had relationships with. We knew each other's dispositions when it came to working. So it was actually fantastic to get back to it. And I gotta say, you know, yesterday I was able to go to the museum. It's like right across from our hotel, and we went to the Mayan exhibit with my family, and it was actually like astonishing to see, you know, all of the things that Dr. Aldana has showed us, you know, pictures of, and some of the things we kind of rebuilt. To see the actual things, it was maybe one of the most surreal experience I've ever had as a filmmaker. You know, because we made this film during the pandemic. It was not, you know, easy to travel to the places the same way that we did on the first film. So we were, you know, I was traveling digitally. You know what I mean? Looking at Google Earth and looking at, you know, photographs. We were 3D printing things, and it was to walk in there and see the actual artifacts, you know, from what we studied. See the jade workings and the headdresses and all of the texts. You know, to actually see it was deeply moving. You know, it was deeply moving. I felt like a rich spiritual connection. Like I felt like we did the right things. You know what I mean? Like we made the right choices. You never know. You know, like and I think for me, the idea of consulting work, like the industry of it. You know, the industry of saying, of not letting the fact that you don't know be an excuse not to do it. You know what I mean? Like going to find the people who know, paying them. You know what I mean? And letting them inform what's happening. Like I hope that we can be examples, like a new type of filmmaking at this level, if that makes sense.
Love that.
Before we go to the fans' questions, and regarding the fans and everything, what are you the most excited about for the fans to see in Wakanda Forever?
Me?
Yep.
Wow.
You're the man.
No, I mean, it's several of us. You know,
No, it's you.
It took many for this one. What I would say, it's hard for me to pick one thing. Right. You know, a lot went into this. A lot was sacrificed by everybody individually, collectively. I've never been as proud of a movie as this, and I've been working for, you know, over a third of my life. You know what I'm saying, in this medium. And when I watch the film, I feel the love that we have for each other, the love that we have for the medium, the love that we have for our dearly departed friend, and I also feel the wish to connect with people. You know what I mean? Like I feel it. Like, you know, and as we've been showing the film to people, I think that part of it works. You know, like people will say, hey, this film reminds me of when I lost this person that I loved, and or this film reminds me when I was going through this emotion, or when I was coming of age in this way. So I'm actually looking forward to audiences just having a good time at the movies, but also connecting with what we were feeling at the time.
Y ahora sí pasemos a las preguntas de los fans. Y la primera es, para ti, Mabel, dice, ¿cómo describirías la relación entre Namora y Namor?
Para mí es una relación tan bonita porque de pronto siento a Namora tan visceral y tan preparada para, ¿sabes?, proteger a su gente, ir a la guerra, dar la vida por Namor y todo esto que cuando tiene que calmarse y escucharlo, entonces mezclas a dos generaciones, ¿sabes? La sabiduría de su Dios, de la persona que le haya transmitido esta cosa de proteger, de lealtad, de amor por su gente, por su nación, por su cultura, pero que al mismo tiempo le transmite como esta cosa de sabiduría que solo puede tener alguien como él y que le transmite otro tipo de conocimiento. Entonces, mezclar estas dos relaciones, o sea, estas dos formas de ver la vida, me parece una de las cosas más bonitas que intenté trabajar con Tenoch para construir nuestra relación, porque decíamos, pongámosle un poquito de nuestra cultura mexicana. Los mexicanos somos familia, somos cálidos, somos, ¿sabes?, protectores, leales. Entonces, como que intentábamos tener gestos de ser familia, de ser guerreros, de cuidarnos, de dar la cara por nuestra gente, por nuestra nación.
¡Qué bonito! La siguiente pregunta, Leticia, is for you. They say, Shuri is such an incredible character. Fans would like to know, what can they expect from her in Wakanda Forever?
We can expect a young woman going through the journey of womanhood, we can expect to see Shuri in ways that we never thought we would have before. There's a maturity to her that's really lovely. I can speak to a lot of young people who are probably on that same path as well, and we can expect a lot of her lively, bubbly self, but just there's real things that she's dealing with in comparison to the first film, and we see the ways in which she handles that, and hopefully it can be of inspiration and healing to others. Can expect a lot more stuff, but you gotta see it. You gotta see it when it comes out this weekend.
Y me voy a permitir, esta pregunta es para ti, Lupita, y me piden que la haga en español. Dice, en primer lugar, dice que te ama. Emoji de corazón y toda la cosa, muy bonito. Y luego pregunta, ¿cómo reaccionaste cuando te enteraste que en Pantera Negra 2 iba a destacar la cultura mexicana? Que ibas a hablar un poco de español en la película.
Sí, me sorprendió eso, pero también sentí muy agradecida, ¿así se dice? Sí, agradecida a Ryan por hacer eso, porque por mucho tiempo he querido hablar en español en una película y nunca imaginé que iba a pasar con Pantera Negra. Entonces leí el guión y vi las palabras en español y me dio mucho, ¿cómo se dice? Orgullo, sí, claro, orgullo hacerlo.
Pues es fantástico y te lo agradecemos. Nuestra mexicana adoptada querida, por supuesto. Y Ryan, I want to ask you about this part of bringing the Spanish and the Mayan will pronounce. Why was that very important for you? Why was it very, very important?
Yeah, language is a big motif in these films, this series of films. This idea of how the act of conquest, historical conquest or colonization can affect the way that people speak. It was an idea that actually Nate and Chadwick, I think, discussed on Civil War, like even before I was hired, you know, and I can't express the joy that I felt when I watched Civil War for the first time. I saw a very early cut when we were trying to figure out if we were going to work together, and my mind was blown when T'Challa and T'Chaka spoke to each other at the UN in a language. It was a language I had never heard before. Also, South African dialect. And I immediately thought, oh wow, they invented a language for the movie. You know what I'm saying? This sounds awesome. You know. and I talked to Nate after, like, a few minutes after I watched the film. He's like, oh no, that's actually the language that the actor that we cast spoke. And I was like, first of all, it's one of the most beautiful languages I've ever heard. You know. But second of all, this is awesome. You know, because the films that I loved when I was young often gave an additional respect to language, even when they didn't have to. I think about watching the Talocan adaptations that Peter Jackson did, when the elves would speak their own language, you know, and you feel like I think geopolitical films are best when you understand that people communicate in ways that are entirely different, and especially these films when we kind of let colonization be a theme that we wrestle with, it became all the more important. It's very important in the Americas as it is on the continent. You know, like, you can learn a lot about people, about how they speak, as we learn more about Mayan culture, and learn that you know, it's a large Mayan population still in this place, and they still speak the language, and it's something that they hold on to with pride. It made a lot of sense to make sure that the Talocan held on to that as well, especially due to Namor's character. You know what I mean? It felt like he was a person who was trying to hold on to everything that he could, you know, so we took it serious, man, and it's like 7 languages spoken in the movie.
Yeah. Wow.
We had a lot of fun with that. You know, I'm a monolingual director. You know what I'm saying? So it was not without complication. You know, and not without unintentional humor at times. You know, like we would have Josue, who was, you know, many times the only person on set who spoke fluent Mayan. man, he was working hard. You know, and
Yeah.
we would bring him in and watch cuts of the movie, and he'd be like, oh no, you gotta fix this. You know, because right now they saying something that's not what you want him to say.
That's right.
But he had a deep. I think as all Mayans do, you know, as he was explaining it to me, he had a very deep sense of duty to make sure we got this right.
Yeah.
And he would not hesitate to stress that upon us and to stress that upon the actors. You know what I'm saying? It's very important that you do this the right way. You know, and I was honored, you know, filled with a deep sense of gratitude because I could not imagine, you know what I'm saying, being the only person on the set having to represent my whole culture, you know, amongst people who were not as familiar with it as would be necessary. And I hope we did everybody's language and culture justice, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Pues la verdad es que hay que estar muy, pero muy emocionados por esta película. People, if you weren't already hyped up enough, I think now they're going to be even more excited to see this movie and check all of your incredible work in Wakanda Forever. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoy your time in Mexico City. Please, Lupita, vengan tus tacos, pozole, quesadillas. You gotta try everything. Muchas gracias por haber estado aquí con nosotros. And thank you all for watching. We can wait for everyone to experience the movie. Get your tickets now for Marvel Studios' Black Panther, Wakanda Forever in theaters everywhere. Bye-bye. Gracias.
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 Gracias.